Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you all bear with me today because once again it's a very bright day in Arizona and I can't see the camera screen for crap. So my goal this weekend was to get the battery tray and all that back in, to get the wiring sorted out, the dash back in, and the inside of the fiberglass top painted. So this is where I'm at. It is 2:30 on Sunday. This is where I'm at. The battery tray is all back in. It's a stainless steel battery tray. I cleaned it up. I got all stainless steel hardware in. This little wire here, I've got to make that longer, but right now it's doing the job. I also got the firewall cleaned up and painted a bit. Painted some things that weren't supposed to be painted, but you know, when you don't take everything apart, that's kind of life. So on the interior, I've got my inside of the roof painted, and this is a fiberglass roof. And kind of when you go to paint these things, especially when they're old like this one, you got to make up your mind, is this thing a Corvette that you're picking up supermodels with, or is it just your favorite old fishing boat that you don't want to rot away? For me, it's the latter. So I got a marine paint and I slathered it on 2 heavy coats of it, and because I just want this thing to last me for another 20 years, or longer maybe if I'm unlucky. Anyway, I think I also have all the behind the dash wiring sorted out. Now, before I started this project, back when I was doing the LED and the 3D printed taillight housings and lenses, I switched this thing over to LED bulbs, and I never could get them to work quite right. So I hated doing it, but I had to go out and buy 10 bucks worth of 1157 bulbs for the turn signals and brake lights, just to make sure it all worked right and all my instrument lights and all that worked before I put the dash back in. So that's where I'm at now. Oh, and my new headlight switch doesn't work. The parking lights won't go off. So I've had to contact them. I've got the old one back in it for now, but I've also sorted out the heaters, the blower switch, which is not the same as the original, since the original one doesn't seem to be possible to get, and this one just has an extra terminal on it. I don't know what it's for, but I just played with them till I couldn't use the stock plug, so I just pulled the terminals out of the plastic plug, played around with it till I got it to where it worked right. And the new wiper switch is on as well. All the wires that I'm not going to be using, I've just kind of bundled up back there out of the way. The ones I will be using are down here. They've got new LED bulbs in them. So I think I'm ready to go. Okay, one thing to note before I take the dash out. Oh, I also haven't mounted the phone holder again, so I may have to do that real quick. But one thing to note before I take the dash out is all of the instrument lights for this dashboard are single wire. They get their ground from the sheet metal dash. Except my 2 new instruments here for the volts and the oil are plastic gauges. So their lights have to have a ground wire. So I just came off of this bottom speedo mount with a wire, tagged it on there. I didn't even bother cutting it, and then I just spread the insulation out, soldered it on, and then brought it over and soldered it to that one. And then I'll just cut the original one. And some of those have the little metal tabs broken off, so I'll probably pick the 2 worst and cut them off, and then just tag the wires on there with the soldering iron, and that will solve that. But yeah, I need to mount that phone holder. It goes in these 3 holes I welded up, so I'm going to have to do that real quick. So it is now bright and early on Wednesday morning. Well, you know, bright and early for me, which is 9:30. Kind of a chilly morning in Arizona too. Air has a real bite to it. So I worked on this half a day Saturday and all day Sunday. And I got the dash sitting back in, and I was hooking the wiring back up and breezing right along. I did have to put incandescent bulbs back in place of the LEDs just to get the turn signals and everything working correctly again, so I could get the wiring behind the dash sorted. And I've done a lot of wiring. I used to be the go-to electrical guy every place I worked at. I've wired vehicles from the ground up, wired custom cars, I've wired boats and airplanes, I've rewired them. I've done everything. I was the guy for that. And this thing had me stumped. I was going along doing just fine, and probably going a little too fast because I was overconfident because I've done this so much. And at some point, I think I had like nothing left but the voltmeter to connect up, and things stopped working. And the more I worked on it, the worse things got. And I was at the point where fuses that I had tested that were hot 2 minutes before were now not hot. And it just got to the point where it was, sun was going down, my back was barking, I'd scratched my head to the point where it was probably bleeding, and there ain't much up there to stop it in the first place anymore. So I just packed it on Sunday. I had to bolt the back dash in so I could get the doors shut. So I came out here bright and early Wednesday. I had client work Monday and Tuesday because the bills got to be paid. And I came out here bright and early this morning, hooked the battery back up, stuck the key in, twisted it, and everything's working again. I'm right back to where I was before everything started to go to hell on me on Sunday, and I have no clue what happened, other than there's a relay I might have popped it that finally came back in. I might have a bad ground. Right now I don't know. All I can do is get it finished up, put it back together, and then diagnose it whenever it happens again, because you can't really diagnose a problem that's not a problem. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm going to finish my coffee, get a fresh cup, and I'm going to go back to work and try and get this dash completed and back in, because I got lots of things to do. Okay, I got updates. So it is now Thursday, going on noon. This thing beat me up all weekend, and it beat me up all day yesterday. But I think I'm finally making progress. And you know, this is nobody's fault. This is just old stuff. And you know, old stuff is fine as long as you don't start pushing and pulling and poking at it. But once you do, things start to happen that you didn't want to have happen. Every time I'd get something to work and I'd move on to the next thing, when I got it to work, I'd go back to the first thing I did, and it's no longer working anymore. So I think I chased down all the gremlins, pulled out all the bad wiring, replaced it with good wiring. I still can't check the temperature gauge and the oil pressure gauge because for some reason now the fuel pump's not running, and that worked a month ago or 6 weeks ago before I pulled the dash out. And it may just be a dead fuel pump. It may be that I have no power to it. I might have pulled or pushed on something else, but I will come back to that. This has a Holley EFI in it, and I did it myself about 15 years ago, so I have nobody to blame for that but me. And one of my biggest battles has been switches in this. I never could get the correct blower motor switch, so I made the one they send you, which they say is correct but isn't. I made it work, and it's fine. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it, but I have all three fan speeds in it. I have now had 2 headlight switches with a third one on the way, and 2 wiper switches, and I'm not even sure I'm going to bother ordering a third one. The headlight switch problem seems to be that while this is a 1980, it seems like it has an earlier system in it. That's what the last guy I ordered a switch from says, and he is sending me the earlier switch, and we'll see if that works. All the wiring to it works. This switch is just, you got to wiggle it and play with it to make it work, but all the wiring and connections are correct. The wiper switch, these Omix Ada switches, the first one I had, the wipers wouldn't work. High range wouldn't work, and it wasn't working correctly, and there was no push button for the washer. So I got a second one, and it was worse than the first one. It had no push button either, but I also finally figured out that the wiper motor itself wasn't running correctly. So that's why the windshield is tipped forward. I completely pulled that out and took it to the bench. I was going to buy another one for $75 to get a Chinese-made motor, and this is a Japanese-made one. So I tore it all apart, and of course I had to do it 3 or 4 times because, hey, it's Chuck doing it. But I got it back in, and let me see if I can hold the camera in my other hand. And there's no wiper arms on it now, of course, but here's low. And you'll notice when I flip it off, it parks correctly. That took me a while to get working right. And then there's high, low, off, and park again. So I have that all working correctly. I've got the cover for this. I'm going to put that back in next. I have to pull the air and the temp cables out because they're routed poorly. All right, it's Sunday about, I don't know, a little after 3. I've got some updates, and I gotta say, my back is barking like a pack of dogs at the mailman, and I ain't kidding. It is bad, so I'm gonna have to stop it here. After a couple of weeks, I really feel like I wasn't getting much done. Now I feel like I'm making some progress. First thing to note on the outside is I got my grill, stainless steel grill, and the Rugged Ridge scoop on, hopefully to keep out wind and rain and superheated air because this is Arizona. The interior is finally coming along really well. The dash is back in, all the lights work. Everything seems to be working the way it should. I still don't have the proper headlight switch. I've still got the old wiper switch in it, which is kind of, you kind of got to wiggle it around and play with it to work. But I've had 3 wiper switches, all Omic SATA, and none of them work. I did rebuild the motor, the wiper motor, and I've got that working right. I had to take this off, unfortunately, off the lower air heater box, because I test fitted it with my underdash AC unit, and there is not room for it, unfortunately. And this being Arizona, air conditioning is more important than warm air to your feet. I mean, warm air will come out down there, but it just doesn't blow where I'd like it to. I may 3D print something, design and 3D print something. I may just live with it. I don't use the heater in it that often. What else? I got the steering wheel all cleaned up and the steering column mounted. It's not 100% the way I'd like it, but steering is going to be for another time. Shift boots are back in. I'm not 100% happy with that factory shift boot on the transmission. It doesn't really fit very well, and if I remember right, I had a Hurst boot on it, and I had the Hurst boot on it because the factory ones don't last very long. But I'll try another one. I got my 3D printed floor plugs in. They all went in nice. I got my Rugged Ridge floor mats in. They fit perfect and look really nice. I figured out the no power to the fuel pump issue. It was just a butt connector for a power wire that just got old and pulled out. And one issue I'm facing, and I think I've got it pretty much figured out, is this control box for the Holley projection unit. These adjustment pots on the front have just taken a beating over the years. I pulled the board out and I got part numbers off them and looked it up and found nothing. So I went over to the nice people at DigiKey and I showed them a picture of it and I gave them dimensions off of it and they found the right pieces for me. So in the meantime, I've kind of soldered those back on, but I'm going to put 5 new trim pots on it. And because they were so helpful, they earned themselves that $12 order. And that's double the amount of what I need to do this. Whenever anything's that cheap, I always order twice as much. But let's get in and let's see what works and what doesn't still. Oh, back here under my dimmer switch flew apart and I lost most of the pieces to it, and that's okay, so I probably won't have headlights. Not like I'm going anywhere. I never did put the courtesy lights in because I don't see the point of lighting your feet up. Probably just put something battery powered overhead. And it does have a light in the back, on the very back of the top, but it doesn't do much for you in the front. Got all the masking tape and everything off it and seeing where I messed up and where I did good, but I'm not too worried about that. But yeah, let's get in and let's give it a go. Okay, there are no seats in it, so I am sitting on the floor, which is actually kind of cool. Can't really see out very well, but it's pretty cool. Everything's looking really sharp. I'm really happy with the way things look. All my controls work really nice and smoothly. Even that god-awful air one pulls in and out and does its thing. Turn the key on, you'll hear the fuel pump. Oh, and there's the Bluetooth. And left turn signal, right turn signal. My parking brake light is on all the time, and I finally figured out that that's probably not because the parking brake switch is missing. That's because the brakes got bled without somebody locking down it would be me, without locking down the brake failure switch in the proportioning valve. And that's underneath on a frame rail, and that ain't happening today. Voltmeter's working. Here's the fan. Fan's working good. You'll have to take my word for it that the instrument lights work good, although they're kind of funny because this has all the cold blue LEDs in it, and this has different bulbs, and I didn't have LEDs for them, so I got what came with it, and they're of course yellowish, but when they fail, I'll get the right LED bulbs for it. Wipers. There's low, there's high, back to low, off, and it parks. So that's all working really well. I don't know if I mentioned in the previous video, some of my earlier videos were no good, and I can't post them because I accidentally zoomed all the way in, or the thing was shaking around because I had the engine running and it was sitting inside on a tripod. But the motor wasn't working quite right, and a replacement motor is 75 bucks, and they're Chinese, and this is a Japanese one, so I just wanted to kind of keep it. So let's fire it up. And again, the trim pots on the projection, I just put them in the middle position. I have no idea where they really go. It won't make any difference. I'm not going to tune it because when I replace the pots, they'll be different anyway. I checked, the temp gauge does come up. The fuel gauge I know doesn't work. I've tested the gauge and the wiring, it's good. I've got a bad sending unit. Sending units last 2-3 years in these. The oil pressure gauge is not coming up. I grounded the wire off the sending unit under the hood, and it pegs my gauge, so my wiring and my gauge are good. I've just got a bad sending unit and I got to replace that. So, pretty happy. So, I think that's going to be it for this time. I'm not sure about this factory boot. If I remember right, they didn't last very long. We'll see. I put these, I put wire ties around the top of them because it tends to help keep them from splitting at the top. Yeah, but that's pretty much it. I'm really happy. The inside looks really, really nice. I'm really pleased with it. And, yeah. I don't know whether I got new pedal rubbers too. I haven't put them on yet, but I have 2 new ones for it. Should have got a parking brake one too. But I got the brake and the clutch. Haven't put them on. And I am going to make new shift knobs, but right now I wanted to get those on because I'm kind of tired of cutting myself and ripping my shirts on the threaded ends of it. So yeah, I think that's going to be it for this video. I will probably be out here to piddle around on it tomorrow, but I probably won't get anything of any significance done to it until next weekend. If I left anything out of the videos that didn't get posted, if you guys have any questions, please just throw them in the comment section below, and I'll do my best to answer them. In the meantime, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye for now.